Hello my fellow pigment nerds, how are you today? It is a very exciting day, and it is a very long overdue day, and it is this amazing palette. I know it doesn't look like much right now, apart from the fact that you know it's from Kremer, and anything from Kremer is super exciting to me, and I'm sure it is the same for you guys if you're into your pigments. This palette, as you probably saw in the thumbnail, has the brand new, the first color in about 200 years, Yemen Blue in it, and it is the blue palette. Kremer reached out to me many months ago saying, hey, would you like to review some products? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, yes please, thank you very much. And their blue palette had just come out, and they offered to send it to me, and I was like, thank you so much. And it's here. It is a palette that's been selected around the Yemen Blue. You can definitely get it on Kremer's website. I will leave a link down below to where you can get it on Kremer's website. But it is a 14 color palette. They're all fall pans, and they are individually available, all the colors, and you get this lovely hand painted color swatches, which is really nice. And then on the back, which I didn't realize for ages, but on the back it does actually tell you what these colors are, and we will be swatching each one of them. But also, I know you guys clicked on this video because of the Yemen Blue title, so I have done a big test sheet that I'm just going to quickly show you, that we are going to have a detailed look at later on in the video. Before I start talking about how I feel about any of these colors though, I just want to say Kremer has sent me this for free, which is absolutely amazing and super generous of them. But both Kremer and I definitely want to give you my honest opinion, not anything that like they said, oh please say this and please say that, at all. So I am not being paid to make this review. They just gave me the free palette, which is absolutely amazing, but thank you so much, Kremer. But everything I say about these colors will be of my own opinion, and a very honest one at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one camera on the palette so you can see how easy each color is to re-wet, because there are some colors that usually in other brands are slightly harder to re-wet, so we'll see how that goes. And then another camera on the swatches themselves so that you can have a look at how they go on the paper. We'll let the swatches dry and we'll talk in detail about the Yemen Blue. We will look at the massive test sheet and then we'll see how it goes. First up, we have the color Blue Verditer, and that is PB30. Next we have Azurite Sky Blue Light, and that is also PB30. A little bit harder on the re-wet. Then we have the Lapis Lazuli from Chile, and that is PB29. Again, it takes a little bit more work to get the paint going. Then we have Genuine Indigo, and that is N for November, B1, and this was super easy to re-wet. Ultramarine Blue, very dark, PB29, easy to re-wet. Ultramarine Blue Light, PB29, easy to re-wet. Ultramarine Violet Reddish, which is PV15, easy to re-wet. Paris Blue PB27, and this again was really easy to re-wet. YInMn Blue PB86, very easy to re-wet. Zyconium Cerulean Blue PB71, easy to re-wet. Cobalt Blue Pale PB28. Cobalt Blue Light PB35, and both this and the blue pale is very easy to re-wet. Cobalt Blue Turquoise Light PB28, very easy to re-wet. And Cobalt Blue Turquoise Dark PB36, again very easy to re-wet. We are back and the swatches are dry. These are the 14 colours of the palette. Having painted with them, I am very impressed at how easy all of the colours were to re-wet. The first 3 colours were a little bit harder to re-wet than the rest, but that is to be expected because if you think of the first 3, like the Promethec range from Daniel Smith, they are definitely harder to re-wet colours. The easiest one were these 2, the Indigo Genuine and the Paris Blue. They were super easy to re-wet, and the rest were also very easy to re-wet as well. Looking at each of the colours, let's look at the first 3 first, because I think the first 3 behaves completely differently from the rest of the palette. The first 3 definitely have larger particles of pigment, and you can really see that when the paint is wet on the paper. You see the granules of pigment moving through, and that is going to create a little bit more patchier look than say the colors around here, which are all artificial, very fine particles. However, I have to say I'm very impressed with the Lapis Lazuli by Kremer, because I've tried the Schmincke one and the Daniel Smith one, and they've always been super hard to re-wet, and then you don't get much colour. Whereas this one, it's much easier to re-wet and you get a lot more colour. It's very tempting when we look at Lapis Lazuli to compare it with the Ultramarine Blue, but I think that's unfair because the Ultramarine Blues, we created that artificially so that we can get nice bright blues, whereas the Lapis Lazuli is very much the natural version of the colour. And also to get a really bright blue that you see in paintings like by Vermeer and the old classic that has the bright blue colour, they're incredibly expensive because of the mind-boggling number of stages and time, and actually it's a dangerous process. I will link to a video of somebody making the most expensive Ultramarine Blue, and you can totally understand why it's so expensive, whereas they wanted to make one that was more affordable for the rest of us. And for what is available on the market as a ready-made watercolor, I think this is the best Lapis Lazuli so far that I've tried. And I've only tried 3. I know Holbein does one. I'm very tempted by it. I'm definitely going to get it next time. But for now, this is very good. If you're after real Lapis Lazuli watercolor that is pre-made, then I highly can recommend it. Easy to re-wet and you get very good color payoff. Then we have Indigo Genuine. I was very excited when I saw that Indigo Genuine was in this palette because I've always wanted to try the real genuine indigo and see the color, because All the indigos you see now that's been made by watercolor companies, they are mixes of colors and they're not the genuine one. The reason why that is because genuine indigo does fade in light, whereas people wanted a light fast version. I totally understand, but I just wanted to see what genuine indigo was like, and I think it's a beautiful color. And if you can protect your painting, I think it's worth painting with genuine indigo because it has so much more depth and you don't get the weird color separation that you sometimes get with certain brands of indigo. This palette basically is perfect for pigment nerds because we get to try out really rare pigments that we don't see readily available by other brands, like the Blue Verditer, a good quality Lapis Lazuli, the genuine indigo, and of course the Yemen Blue. Then we come to Ultramarine Blue Very Dark. If you've been a fan of my handmade watercolors when I used to make them and you really miss some of the colors that I've made, most of my pigments actually came from Kremer, and the Ultramarine Blue Very Dark is the same pigment that I use for my Ultramarine Blue, which means if you want a replacement for it, then definitely give this a go if you are looking for a ready-made watercolor. The only difference between the Kremer one and my one is that I used a Schmincke's watercolor base, as well as I added honey, but having used the Kremer one, I think it's just as good. It's very easy to re-wet, maybe not quite as easy just because of the honey thing, but it's very easy to re-wet. It's very, very usable color. So if you miss my watercolor, and especially the ultramarine, try this one. Then we have the Ultramarine Blue Light, which I think not only is lighter, but it's slightly more towards the green, which is really, really useful because I don't understand brands that produce Ultramarine Blue Dark and Ultramarine Blue Light and they're exactly the same. It's like, well, I can just get the Ultramarine Blue Dark and water it down to get the light, whereas this, they're actually slightly different colors. The Ultramarine Blue Very Dark is a more redder, warmer blue, and then the Ultramarine Blue Light is the more greener, cooler blue. And if you get confused as to those cools and warms, I do have a video on explaining the difference between these two, which I will link up here. Then we have the Ultramarine Violet Reddish, very beautiful violet, and it's kind of nice to have a violet color to go with the rest. All of these colors gradate very beautifully. You won't have any problems like cauliflowering or the colors behaving weird. It's very nice. Then we have Paris Blue. I mean, they're all my favorite colors because I love blue colors, and I just almost cried when I saw that they created a blue palette because I'm like, that is the palette for me because I'm obsessed with blue, and especially getting a really bright blue. And this Paris Blue, I think if you're looking for a really dark blue, will be a very versatile blue to have on your palette because it has a huge range of value, and even when you water it right down, you get beautiful, gorgeous color. So if you are looking for a strong, practical, strong, useful blue, then I can highly recommend the Paris Blue. And in fact, I'm very tempted to get some for myself because it's a stunning color. Then we have the Yemen Blue. I'm going to skip over the Yemen Blue because we do have a full test sheet that's coming up after we go through this, so bear with me. Then we have the Zyconium Cerulean Blue. Again, if you were a fan of my handmade watercolor of the Zyconium Cerulean Blue, the same pigment, just different watercolor medium, so I can highly recommend trying this one. It's very beautiful, cool blue that is perfect for like painting warm tropical seas. Then we have Cobalt Blue Pale. This is almost a lilac-y color, certainly when it's lined up next to all the blue colors, and it goes really well with the Ultramarine Violet Reddish. They're a lovely, lovely pair of colors. Then we have the Cobalt Blue Light, which is the bluest of the cobalt blue colors. we have 4 Cobalt Blues, and then we have the Cobalt Blue Turquoise Light, which if you are looking for a bright turquoisey, greeny, but like happy color, I know like happy color isn't a technical term, but it feels happy. If you're looking for that kind of color, definitely go for this. Also, all the cobalts are very easy to re-wet. I've had this set for several months. They sent it to me in July. It's now November, and all of the colors except the Yemen Blue, which I will go into when we look at the Yemen Blue, still re-wets beautifully. Then we have Cobalt Blue Turquoise Dark, which is the more darker and greener color. Again, easy to re-wet, beautiful colors, beautiful gradation. And with the exception of the Paris Blue and the Indigo, they all granulate. So if you are a granulation fan and you love blue colors, then I can highly recommend this set. Now, I know you guys all been waiting for the Yemen Blue, so let's have a look at that. Here is the Yemen Blue, and this is all what we've been waiting for. Yemen Blue, very exciting. First proper new pigment in like 200 years or something. Absolutely amazing. I'm just honored to be able to test this for free. You can get the Yemen Blue on its own if you want, that you don't want to have the set but you want to try the Yemen Blue. And so all these numbers here, I've written it down for you, and you can just put these numbers if you want the specific color as a ready-made watercolor. This is the product code on Kremer's website, so you can just plug that number in and you'll find it very easy because their search is very good. So, Yemen Blue, here we are. Beautiful blue. I would say, having painted this test sheet, my impression is it's like Ultramarine Blue, but with the opacity and the texture of the Cobalt Blues. So it's like a really red Cobalt Blue rather than Ultramarine. The reason why I say it's slightly different from Ultramarine is that Ultramarine Blue has a very bright, vivid blue, whereas this is a little, just like a tiny bit toned down, and it's got that slight, I don't want to say chalkiness, but do you know in cobalt colors they look a little bit more chalky than the, say, the Ultramarine Blues are. It's that kind of color is my first impression. Gradates beautifully. My tip with this is I always pick up the paint from the palette and go straight onto the paper so that you can see the mass tone of the color. But this color does best if you add just a tiny bit more water to what you have on your brush so that you have more flow rather than using the mass tone as it is. The mass tone is great, it's bright, but you don't see the granulation and it doesn't move quite as well as if you just add just a tiny bit. It's like whiskey. If you add a drop of water to your whiskey, then it opens up the whiskey, and I feel like Yemen Blue is the same. On the papers, it even granulates on hot press paper. This is a Buckinghamfoot cold press, and then we have, as usual, the Buckinghamfoot hot press, the rough, and the ash cold press paper. It's a heavily granulating color. Again, granulates even on hot press, so I don't know if that actually means it's a flocculation color rather than granulation color, but we will get into the difference between those in another video because this video is going to be detailed enough as it is. And I think it's stunning on the ash paper. It's just amazing, and it gradates beautifully. By the way, the scan of this test sheet is going to be available on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Oto Kano. And also, I know you guys have been asking for a PDF of this test sheet forever. I finally got around to it. It is up on there. I've made 4 different versions. One is A3, the other A4 in case you don't have a big printer, and then ones with the exact label I use and ones without the label. So if you've been waiting for me to make this test sheet available, it is up on my Patreon now. Go there and download it and use it to your heart's content. Back to opacity. It is an opaque color. It's a very opaque color, I would say. I can definitely see where the paint's been. In terms of lifting, this is where it differs a little bit from the Ultramarine Blue, because Ultramarine Blue is very easy to lift. Whereas I would say YInMn Blue is a staining color. This is after going 1, 2, 3 with a wet brush, tapping it and doing that 3 times, which is very different from the Ultramarine Blue. Then the glazing, I mean, any granulating opaque colors, not the best at glazing, but also because it's a staining color, it doesn't lift the bottom layer as much as Ultramarine Blue does. So if you do a lot of glazing and you're so tired of the Ultramarine Blue lifting up easily, then definitely try the YInMn Blue. Gauzing, as expected from all granulating colors, it gauzes very well. Then we move on to the color mixes. Can I just say, when you mix it with permanent red, it creates this beautiful two-tone color where you can really see the texture. The quinacridone rose and the quinacridone violet created the most beautiful granulating strong violet. A lot of the time when you mix normal blues with these colors, yes, it makes nice violets, but I think in particular these two are very beautiful. The complementary color to YInMn Blue, I would say, is cadmium yellow orange, maybe vermilion, depending on what kind of gray you want to get. You definitely get more grayness out of the cadmium yellow orange or any kind of yellow orange color. Very interestingly, the salt test, was not expecting this. I don't think I've ever seen reaction like this from the salt before. As always, what I do is put a wet patch of paint on and then sprinkle some salt. Normally what we get is the veiny look that we're used to, or the no reaction at all, where you can just see the grains of salt where it landed and that's it. But this, I would say, is like a lightning effect. It's completely different, and I think this is where I was like, wow, okay, yeah, YInMn Blue, you're different from all the other paints I've tried, because don't think I've seen this. I know it's a really niche thing, but I would say that this is where you can really feel that, okay, this is different. And then the water bloom, I swear I did put the water on here. However, you can't see it. You can barely see it. You can just about see these things lighter. If you are a little bit unsure about your water control, you're just not going to have any problem. Or if you drop accidentally some water on what you've already painted, which I have done so many times, you can just chill, because it's like, oh, it's fine. It's really not going to show that much. So what is my impression on YInMn Blue? It's definitely different. It behaves differently. And I think it does fill a niche of where Ultramarine Blue stops and the Cobalt Blues start. It is the love child of Ultramarine Blue and the Cobalt Blues. Because Cobalt Blues, you don't get this intense a blue, but it has that opacity and the similar behavior to the cobalts rather than the Ultramarine Blues. One thing I do need to warn you with this YInMn Blue is that the longer you leave it, the harder it's going to be to re-wet this particular color. And they sent me this set back in July. As you know, I had to take a mental health break because, COVID lockdown and not being able to see my mom, even though she's got cancer, that kind of stress. I just had to take some time off. And now we're in November, so July, August, September, October. Hold on. July, August, September, October, November. So we're 5 months later since they sent me this palette. And when I came to test this palette, my YInMn Blue was completely unable to re-wet, and they very kindly sent out a new one for me. And what they said is, yes, the Yemen Blue, it does have this issue that once it's, the longer you leave it, the older it is, the harder they become to re-wet. And I would say that this, you know, you're not getting barely any color. And I have scrubbed at this pan before a lot, and you can get some sort of color, but not much, which is a real shame because, well, you've seen how beautiful Yemen Blue is. Whereas this is fresh. I got this on Friday. It is now Thursday when I'm filming this, and completely different, right? So I know it's really tempting to either stock up on Yemen Blue or go, yes, it is an expensive pigment, and yes, this is a very expensive watercolor, and you be tempted to not use this and just like keep it forever and only use a tiny bit. But don't, because a few months down the line you're gonna end up with this, where it's not gonna do anything. You know, as soon as you get it, use it, enjoy it. I wouldn't say that this is a faulty thing. This is known to happen with several colors, and not just Kremer watercolors. Other people who make handmade watercolors have this exact same thing. Some colors are just like this, where if you leave it for a few months, then it just becomes impossible to re-wet, and it will be such a shame to have spent all that money and not get to enjoy the Yemen Blue in its full nature just because you were precious with it. So as soon as you get it, use it, enjoy it. Don't stock up on it. Just buy one at a time when you need it, and then you won't have any problems like this. So what do I think of this palette? Well, let me tell you, I think it is the perfect gift, certainly for someone like me who is a pigment nerd, loves trying out rare pigments, and has a huge love affair with the color blue. It has some very rare colors that you either don't get in other brands, or you get them in other brands but they're very disappointing, like Lapis Lazuli. Other brands, very disappointing. This one, very good. The Indigo genuine, so nice to actually finally try a genuine indigo. The Yemen Blue alone is an amazing experience to try a pigment that we didn't have before, and it's the first new pigment in so long. If you're a Cobalt fan, definitely go for this as well, because you have some very beautiful and very easy to re-wet cobalts, and sometimes easy to re-wet cobalts are quite hard to find. So basically, if you have the money, or if you have a sugar daddy or sugar mommy, or if you have some very generous person in your family that is going, hey, what do you want for Christmas? I would highly recommend this. It's beautiful, and I'm just going to completely treasure this palette forever, except for the Yemen Blue, because as I said before, don't be precious with the Yemen Blue because it will dry hard and then you won't be able to re-wet. I am gonna actually stick to my words and create these paintings for this month's Patreon. This is gonna be the $17 Patreon painting, I think. It's the 14 colors swatched out so you can see for yourself in real life, because it's one thing to see it on screen, but the $17 tier will have the swatches of all the colors, because I thought, you know what, you guys are going to be way more interested in seeing these paints in real life, including the Yemen Blue, which is this one, than any paintings that I can create for you this month. And then the $50 tier one for the extra painting is going to have a big swatch of the Yemen Blue so that they can really appreciate and enjoy the Yemen Blue and what it looks like, and they can have it as a reference. I just want to share this palette with you guys in every way I can, and I think this is the best way to share how beautiful this palette is to just give you guys swatches so you can see it and have it in your hand and go, okay, yeah, no, I need this palette, or okay, yeah, I need this particular color from the palette. Because remember, all of the colors are available as individual ready-made full pans, so that even if you can't afford a full palette, you'll be able to buy one that really tugs at your heartstrings. So that's it for this video. I hope I've given you all the information that you wanted. If you want any more information, if you have questions, do let me know in the comments down below, so that I can answer them for you, or I can try to answer them for you. And 2 questions. 1, which one was your favorite color out of all 14 of these colors? And 2, let me know what you think of Yemen Blue, because I would love to know what everyone else thinks of this color. Do let me know your answers in the comments down below. Thank you so much to David Kremer for, first of all, I can't believe David Kremer emailed me when I got it. I was like, oh my goodness, I made it in this. And he's been incredibly kind, incredibly generous, and very understanding of when I had to take my mental health break rather than get on with making his video. He was so kind. So thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for watching all the way, because this is going to be a long video, but I think it's worth making this a long video because look at it, it's beautiful, and we have the Yemen Blue. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!